Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Coming up this week, we have a lot to talk about, including price increases at Disneyland, some hints about when Galaxy's Edge might be opening, and what we're looking forward to in Disneyland during 2019. All that coming up next. From the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida, and points around Southern California, you're watching the Disneyland edition of the Diz Unplugged. This is the Diz Unplugged, episode 755 for the week of January 28th, 2019. The Diz Unplugged is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect Disneyland vacation. Visit them on the web at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show, coming to you from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined this week by my good friends, Rhino Clavin.
Hello.
Back in the production nook, our producer, Mr. Craig Williams.
Hi.
And out in California, Mr. Tom Bell.
Hello, everyone.
And first, welcome to the show. We're going up later than we had anticipated this month, just some scheduling issues. Making some changes to the show. You're going to be seeing some new faces on the show, some old faces on the show.
Hey, watch it.
Some old faces that may look new because they had work done. And I apologize again that this is going up on the 28th of January, a little later than we had anticipated. But we are back, and we are back in our regular weekly format every Monday, so there's that. I don't have an awful lot in housekeeping. I don't think I have anything, to be honest with you, in housekeeping. So let's just get right to it. So we do have some things to discuss now. The price increase at Disneyland happened a few weeks ago, so it's not new news. But I thought it bears discussion. January 5th, I believe it was, Disneyland raised their ticket prices, and this was a pretty extreme price hike. Anywhere between 5 and 10%, with a one-day, one-park ticket being $104 during value season and a staggering $149 during peak season. That is one day, one park, and there are two words to describe the justification behind that price: Galaxy's Edge. So I don't think this comes as a surprise that they're raising rates. And I don't think it's going to come as a surprise that before this year is out, they will probably do it again. Once they see what is going to happen. Tom?
It actually kind of surprised most people because it's usually February. But given how, and I think you're experiencing this in Orlando, how they're trying to get people in the parks pre-Galaxy's Edge. And trying to throw promotions and things out there. It surprised me that they're raising it now and not in June.
Yeah.
Well, I think that, I agree that, them doing it a month early, then they, like you said, normally it would be in February. Whereas what's going on out here, I mean, doing a free dining promotion in Walt Disney World in January is unheard of. It's not been done before. Right. Normally that's April or May that we see that. We're
getting ticket promotions that we haven't seen in a while. So,
what kind of ticket promotions are you seeing?
I can pull it up, but they threw out a Southern California ticket promotion, which they've been doing the last few years. But this year they're also doing like a ticket promotion for everyone. That's good this spring.
Yeah, it's. I think you're right. They're trying to get people in the parks because they're absolutely. They know that everybody knows once Galaxy's Edge opens, that's what everybody wants to go and see. So a lot of people are holding off on their vacations.
Well, I think maybe they're doing the price up now, like you said, so that they can be like, these promotions are your last chance, sort of a thing. To maybe that's how they're scaring them in to keep them out, sort of a thing. Like the pricing out the locals.
Well, the ones they're trying to keep out
yeah.
are the annual pass holders,
Yeah.
because let's talk about that price increase, 10 to 20 between 10 and 24%, with the highest increase coming
Yeah.
for the premier passes, which a few people in this
God.
room hold, going from $1,579
Yeah.
to $1,949,
Insane.
almost a $400 increase.
Well, I think the first year that I had this pass was, I want to say it was in 2016 was the year I got it. And then, and it was like around almost $1,400 then. And so it's gone up, whatever. Now it's that $400 jump in 1 year. When I renewed it at the end of I remember being like, oh, I can't believe it went up like another $100 or another like $78.
I've been tracking all the price increases since like before time began. You're right. In February 2016, the Premier increased to. Actually, the Premier didn't increase. It was $1,439. When they introduced it, like back in 2012, it was $749.
Oh my
Right, that's
gosh.
what I remember, because because at that point in 2012 I had annual passes to both Disneyland and Disney World, and they just sent me the Premier Pass when it debuted, and then when I went to renew it, it was about $800. I remember, 800 and change when I went to renew it.
In February, May 2012, it went up to $849.
So we're talking about the span of 7 years.
Double.
That pass has more than doubled.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy too is I was thinking about, well, how much is it for a Walt Disney World like gold, the annual pass, like $800? It's under $1,000 still, right? Like for just Disney World. For Disney World, that would include the 4 parks, 2 water parks, and then so now $1,200 of my pass is a place that only has 2 theme parks in it. Like, and don't get me wrong, I love Disneyland, but I'm like, it's kind of crazy that it's just been that jump.
Yeah, no, it kind of switched, and where it felt for a while there, at least for me, and I think a lot of us, that that big pass, the gold pass, that was a way for Walt Disney World fans to then be like, okay, well, we can also get a little Disneyland throughout the year thrown in as a bonus with it. Now it feels like this pass has switched to where it's like, if you are a diehard Disneyland fan, you also get Walt Disney World as a bonus thrown in with it more the opposite way.
Let's remember, a few years ago, they restructured these annual pass prices effectively, to discourage locals from coming to the park. And I talked to a number of locals who have held annual passes for years that no longer do, because they've been priced out of the market, which is exactly what Disney was going for.
Every single Uber driver I get while I'm out in California, when they pick you up like anywhere at the hotel around, it's like, oh, you at Disneyland? Yeah, do you like it? Oh, no, we don't go. It's too expensive. We don't bother.
They'll be like, oh, I had passes 2 years ago and I let them. That's what it seems like they all say now.
It deserves discussion. At what point does this bite them in the ass? Disneyland has existed on the basis of annual pass holders, of locals, for its entire lifespan. We say it all the time. It's a quote-unquote locals park. These pricing structures for the annual passes are going to change that. However, while Galaxy's Edge will be a huge draw for the foreseeable future, what happens when it's not? What happens when it's not? What happens if, is this the tipping point? We talk about in World all the time. Where's the tipping point price-wise? And Rhino, you brought up a good point that with our, the annual pass out here, the Premier Pass, or whatever it is,
the Platinum, I think.
The Platinum Pass, you get 4 theme parks, the water parks, you get all of it. Whereas out in California, you get 2 parks. So at what point is there a different tipping point price-wise for Disneyland versus Walt Disney World? And are we approaching that, or are we there yet?
I think we're approaching it. I think we're also, at least I can say from where my life is right now, there is a balance between two sides to the world right now, and that is the people who love to indulge, that Disney is taking advantage of, coming up with purple potion merchandise, every fad that happens. But now I'm also seeing the shift where the start of this year, everyone adopted the Marie Kondo lifestyle of start throwing away all your crap, and if it doesn't bring you happiness, then just toss it. And I can tell you, people that I've been following for years who are always constantly buying Disney crap over and over and over, now they're like, nope, we're getting rid of all of it. It's just, so the world is, I think, also starting to shift focus on, do we really need to overindulge in everything constantly?
Yes.
And there's these two balancing acts going on. I thought about it the other day when I was at Walt Disney World. I'm like, oh, I really want that. I really want that. I really want that. And then I stopped and like, no, I don't need that.
Yeah. Your point is well taken, because I think even for me, I think I'm the poster child for overindulgence. I know. It's hard to believe, but there's a little glimpse into my world. But, I find myself doing the same thing, where I'll go in, I'm spending a lot more time in the parks right now out here, and I'll go in, I'm like, oh, that looks really cool. I'm like, I've got too much crap already.
Yeah. So that's what I'm like also foreseeing with this. Not only are we talking about price increases on annual passes, everything else, we are moving so quickly uphill with how fast prices are going up with Disney, how much people are spending. I think it's going to hit a crash.
Well, let's talk to the local. Yeah. And Tom, tipping points. Yeah. Are we there yet? Are we close?
Okay. So the problem, I think, here, I don't know do you guys have payment plans back there?
Yeah. We do for Florida residents, but they don't apply to the Premier passes. Premier passes, you've got to buy.
Here, any pass other than the Premier, you can spread out over the course of 12 months.
But even still, a lot of people are left out because they even spread out over 12 months. They can't afford it.
Right, and now it's over $100 a month. So I think we may be getting there, but I don't know that we're quite there yet. The parks are still, so packed that every weekend I'm getting tweet notifications from the Disneyland Today Twitter site that parking is full. So we're not there yet.
Well, Craig kind of raised an interesting point, is that so we're getting that cusp where it's really expensive. We've got people. I'm just thinking about like merchandise. You're talking about, I want to buy this. But if you're now getting to that point where you're like, okay, I can barely afford this pass, but I'm still going to do it. It also means like, where do I start cutting stuff? I start eating in the park less. I start buying less merchandise. So is raising this pass going to then decrease the amount of money people end up spending in the park because of the amount they spend to get in?
I think it's an individual judgment call. Again, because of what we do, we're in the parks a lot. We're out in California a lot. The discounts we get with that annual pass are pretty significant.
Yeah.
When you're talking about 20% on, especially out there, it's much more pervasive. It's
everywhere there.
It's become a lot more pervasive out here over the years. But out in Disneyland, it's, everywhere you go,
I'm surprised
there's an annual pass
I can't
discount.
Use it there.
Exactly. So, that has to be factored in too, on a Premier Pass. And, taking advantage of, annual pass holder room rates, which are kind of hard to come by. But in terms of discounts on food, on merchandise, it's pretty significant. So how that factors into, I know for me, when I look at that, that 1949 number, it's getting really close to my, no, it's not worth it.
Even the highest non-Premier Pass, which is the Signature Plus, is up to $1,400. And $1,400 gets you 2 weeks, I think. The one below that is $1,149, which is.
What do you mean it gets you 2 weeks?
The Signature is $1,149, and that gets you everything except the 2 weeks at Christmas.
Oh, okay. So even that Signature Pass has blockout days.
Oh, you're saying the bump up in pay is you're paying for 2 weeks, essentially. 2 weeks that the other pass you would be out.
Correct.
You wouldn't be able to go.
Correct.
I gotcha.
Yeah. For $11.49, you're blocked out during the like Christmas, New Year's.
Okay, and so, but for another $500, you get the Disney World parks added on, basically.
Basically, yeah.
And it's a little different for us, even though it's the same price.
Yeah.
You know, we're paying $1,100 roughly to be able to go to Disneyland.
So I mean, the math now is if you're a Disneyland pass holder and you have the Signature Plus, one trip to Disney World and that premiere is worth it.
Right. So very interesting. Do you think, Tom? Do you think we will see another ticket price increase this year?
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially if they don't give people, if the pass holder doesn't drop off, and we'll see another one before June.
Gosh, so hurry up and renew.
You
need to renew now. The problem with the passes that we have though is that it's like what Pete said, you buy those ones right out. So technically you're not renewing the pass, that you buying a brand new one every year. So renewing it early, you've just thrown away 2 months of a pass or something like that.
Right.
So it's we have a little bit of that scary territory of renewing.
So all right. So let's kind of piggyback on that discussion with an interview that Bob Iger did recently with Barron's magazine, where he kind of let it slip. Mm-hmm. I think it was intentional because I think this man watches his words, but it appeared to be that he slipped when he said, quote, "When Star Wars opens in Anaheim in June," which pretty much confirms that Galaxy's Edge is coming in June.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised because I had the feeling whenever they say spring, June, fall, whatever, they're always meaning like the end of those seasons, like the longest they can go without where it still technically is fall. You know, like I don't think our Galaxy's Edge will open until like December 21st, and they'd be like late fall.
Based on because as of this morning, the morning that we're recording this, they just opened up bookings for the new Riviera Resort starting on December 16th. The prices are astronomical.
Yeah.
I think it will either be open by the 16th or on the 16th. That's my guess.
Okay.
But Disneyland's going to have roughly a full 6 months of a head start.
Yeah, I think we all knew it was going to be open at least by D23, which is the end of August. So we knew that a lot of people were expecting July. The good news now, if it is on June, my guess is they're probably even shooting for like May to start previews and soft openings and stuff. And as long as there's no issue with the attractions in terms of how they're functioning, then they'll be able to launch in June with no problem, because that's what it all comes down to. They're going to have the theming done. It's going to be all ready to go. But the worst thing they could do is if they open it up and everyone's rushing there and they're dealing with 4-hour wait times, or not wait times, sorry, downtimes on the two attractions that are actually in there. That will kill them, because it's going to be the worst word of mouth. It was beautiful, but we couldn't do the rides. You know, it's luckily with Pandora, you know, they kind of had that issue with Flight of Passage, but it was usually only like one theater was down and the other one was working, and that was causing a lot of wait times to go up. But if there's any issues like that with Galaxy's Edge, it's going to be a nightmare.
Well, I think about that, and I think about this is a new type of just guest flow that's being created at Disneyland. At Disney World, we've seen similar things with like Harry Potter or other things that have had these like big openings, and we had that space that, you know, we could level a whole backside of a theme park for this, whereas this is like the 3 entrances that they have for Galaxy's Edge and Disneyland are like, I just think like where the main one is, it's going to be like behind Fantasyland. They've got that one back there that's where Thunder Mountain is, and I'm just concerned that the system for guest flow, I hope, is really worked out before that happens.
I'm sure it will be. I would hope so. Is there any chance that the opening of Galaxy's Edge in June actually works against Disney World in terms of people either saying, hey, you know what, it's open out there, I'm going to go out there and not go to Disney World because that opens in 6 months, or people see that it's an absolute cluster in Disneyland with 8-hour waits and people being turned away at the turnstiles and parks reaching capacity. And they say, oh, screw this. I'm not going anywhere near Disney World for another year.
We actually kind of talked about this a little bit on an episode right before the end of the year while you were gone. And we also raised the question, what if Disneyland locals decide not to even bother with theirs because of how insane it would be? What if they would just wait to come to Walt Disney World? Because hopefully they'll already learn a little bit from what's happening with Disneyland once they open theirs up. So it's there's a lot of questions, but I would hope that Walt Disney World will take into consideration what's happening out in Anaheim with how they go about opening it up and stuff. But I think there's going to be a lot of people who book Disneyland and then potentially come to regret it and wish they didn't for a while.
It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I really think that Disneyland. I think if this edition had been in California Adventure, which of course it wouldn't belong there, but given that park is larger, that park absorbs crowds a bit better than Disneyland Park does, this may not have been so bad. But I have a feeling that the big story a week after Galaxy's Edge opens out there is not going to be how amazing the attractions are. It's going to be that it's a 9-hour wait to get on one of them.
Yeah.
And, we saw in Pandora out here in Animal Kingdom that people would tolerate a 4-hour wait for an attraction being billed as the best Disney's ever done. By a lot of people. That's not universal by any means, but a lot of people feel that Flight of Passage is the best Disney attraction out there. I'm among them. And that a 4-hour wait didn't kill them. And that was for Pandora. Does anybody here think if Imagineering's firing on all cylinders with these new attractions, that we're not going to see 8-9 hour wait times?
That will come down to just seeing how well they deal with capacity and downtimes. I think the hottest ticket you're going to be able to find after it opens is a VIP tour, though.
I agree.
So that's something to think about. If you have big open pockets, that might be a smart investment.
Deep pockets?
And keep in mind,
yes, that's it.
Big open pockets. Keep in mind that a VIP tour right now,
cargo pants,
pretty much on average is about $650 an hour.
You think there'll be
with a minimum book of 6 hours? I believe it is.
Yeah.
So I think that will be a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be the only way that you're going to be able to get on these attractions without...
I bet they'll even roll... maybe they don't increase that necessarily, but if you want to go there, there's an upcharge. I don't think it'll be rolled in with the regular... I think it's going to be like the VIP tour.
You think there'll be tiers to the VIP?
Yes, yeah, I think that's what's going to end up happening. And that'll be the thing, is that you can get into Star Wars. We can take you to, Pandora. We can take you to, whatever. And they'll start booking all the big e-ticket things higher up, and then the other ones,
could be
limiting kind of what you can do. I think
it remains to be seen.
Yeah, the only last thing I'd have to say is I wish they would take a note out of Universal's book, like they did when they opened up the new Harry Potter attractions. I wish they would just say, you know what, no Fast Pass, no Fast Pass Plus out here. Just keep it equal playing ground for everyone except the people who want to dish out for a VIP tour.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
That's the only thing I wish that they would do. I know it's for the people who can score Fast Pass, it's great for them. I'm among them. I was getting really good at being able to pull last second Fast Passes for Flight of Passage. But you know what? It's everyone wants to see it equally. Let's just make it an open field on all accounts and say, if doesn't matter if you got here this time, that time, this time. no fast pass at all. But that's just me.
What do you think, Tom?
My concern, going back to the 3 entrances, my concern is for the rest of the park. The pathways now in Fantasyland, they're tight, they're crazy, it's stroller land. I can't imagine people trying to get through Fantasyland or through Critter Country to get to Galaxy's Edge, and then just to be turned away. And then what are they going to do? Yeah, all those dark rides in Fantasyland are going to be hour waits, hour and a half waits as people wait to get into Galaxy's Edge.
And that's why I'm saying that the hype around this, I think we can all agree.
Yeah.
Nothing, at least in my time of 22 years of following this, nothing has approached the hype that Galaxy's Edge has on either coast. So we're talking about, this is uncharted territory, even for Disney. And if the narrative coming out of Galaxy's Edge is you can't move, you can't even get into the park is closing for capacity at 10 a.m., I think there might be an unintended consequence of it backfiring.
Yeah, you know what I'm thinking too? I think it's a really smart move on Disney World's side of it to have waited to open it until December too, because then they're out of the rain season. They're out of the worry of like lightning. The heat's died down, so okay, that already.
Yeah, but I don't think they think like that because they're opening a Skyliner just at the beginning.
Yeah, well, true.
At the beginning of ground strike season. So, I don't know how much they put that much thought into it. I think I think it was definitely intentional that there's a staggered opening. I think if both opened at the same time, there would be probably an issue. But I don't know that necessarily is the reason. But all right, so let's kind of dovetail this conversation into what are we looking forward to I know there was another story in your script. I'm skipping that this week. So we're going to go right into what we're looking forward to in 2019. How about you, Rhino?
Well, I've got a bunch because there's a lot going on. I feel like in Disneyland, a lot of celebrations that are happening. Specifically, they just started doing the Mickey's Mixed Magic show that just started on the 18th, I believe. And that's their sort of new, they call it a high energy projection show that celebrates the one and only Mickey Mouse. It's at Disneyland Park. It's got that new song that's like the theme song of Disney right now, which is it's called It's a Good Time, and it's in the Mickey's Move It, Shake It, Mouse Could Dance It at Magic Kingdom now too. But I watched some of this, and it's a projection show in all the usual places: Main Street, Small World, and then I believe the water things in New Orleans Square down that way. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of the whole thing was this show was not always going to be fireworks inclusive, that fireworks were just going to be like the added on treat of it. And I watched the video, so I haven't seen it in person, but it really feels like the one I saw had fireworks in it, that was the afterthought, so it doesn't need fireworks in it, but it looks really cool. I look forward to seeing this in person. Craig and I were talking before the show that I don't love the Move It, Shake It, Mouse Could Dance It celebration at Magic Kingdom, but everybody was into it. They were dancing, they were happy, they were in the street, and I love that it has that effect on people.
That energy, yeah.
Yeah, and Craig was saying that he thinks that's maybe sort of a way of the future. Is it's all about movement and motion, and we're moving more away from standing still and waiting for stuff, and it's becoming more inclusive. They want you to be a part of this. You're part of the storytelling now, and I think this is, from what I saw, it looks like one of the first steps, because honestly, I love that feeling at night when all the lights come on and the projection's going, and you got a song going, and you're just you're excited, you're dancing, you're moving, and it just puts you in a good mood. And so I look forward to experiencing that at Magic Kingdom as part of their Get Your Ears On celebration.
Okay.
That's cool. Not Magic Kingdom, Disneyland Park. Sorry,
I was just gonna say.
I always call it that.
Tom, what about you? What are you looking forward to this year?
I'm kind of looking forward to a couple of the upgrades to the dining locations at the hotels. They are redoing Tangaroa Terrace right now, putting in a bar to kind of take some of the overflow from Trader Sam's. And then they're also adding a new bar outside Whitewater Snacks at the Grand Californian. So adding some more dining spaces there at the hotels.
Sounds like they're adding bars.
Well, yeah. Well, Tangaroa Terrace is dining, so
Yeah.
they're still going to have food there. But
Don't you think it would be make more sense to make all of it Trader Sam's?
All of it Trader Sam's, yeah.
And
I never-
include
I still don't
food
get that.
and make that whole area that, inside and outside. I mean, obviously, it became a lot more popular than they expected it to when they first opened it.
Yeah.
So, and I love Tangaroa Terrace, don't get me wrong, and I'm not saying get rid of the food there or anything like that.
No, just move it over.
I mean, I can already order that food in Trader Sam's, so just make it all Trader Sam's.
The only thing is breakfast. It's the go-to quick service breakfast
Well, they can do
spot
it.
when you're
They can still
right
do
there.
it.
Yeah, it's. I mean, and then you'd get the idiots who are like, "Well, it's Trader Sam's. I want a drink." Sir, it's 7 a.m. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm on
Here's
vacation.
Here's a copy of the 12 Steps. They can just hand that out at the door. But Craig, what about you?
This is it's a tough one. Multiple things in a way. Nothing really concrete though. The one thing I hope this year is that I get back out for the holiday season next year. I was lucky enough when I was in California.
That's a hint. That's a hint to the guy who sets his travel schedule.
No. I was.
go.
Well, that's. I ended up on a very, very last minute trip out to California at the end of 2018 to go to the Rose Bowl and Rose Parade and all that. And my dad got in a massive flight delay while on the day that we were arriving. And I went and picked up the rental car and I'm like, okay, I have 5 hours until he gets in and I don't know what to do. And I thought about movies. I thought about just going for a hike somewhere. And because I am an insane Disney fan, like everyone out there watching and listening to this, I decided to go to Disneyland for 3 hours. And it was interesting all around because it was the first time I actually parked a car at Disneyland. I had never done that before.
It's an experience.
One time I went with Tom where we just moved from our hotel around to a parking garage, but that was the closest. I never did it by myself. That is pure insanity. Every time I say we should get parking garages and all of that, no, I'm fine with our flat lots. They make so much more sense. But anyways, yeah, no, I got getting to be in the park only for like 3 hours. I ran around like an idiot. I waited 80 minutes for Haunted Mansion Holiday. I don't remember the last time I've waited that long for an attraction, but I did it because it was my only time there. I did Small World Holiday. I forgot how charming it is at Christmas time at Disneyland.
Unbelievable.
And I've been so many times. I've been lucky enough to be 2 or 3 times at Christmas before. It always blows me away each time I go back. I'm also looking forward to just going to see it before the insanity rolls out with Galaxy's Edge. Get that last trip in where everything's kind of calm and more
as calm as it gets.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm looking forward to that moment in it. And then, like Rhino said, Mickey's Mixed Magic. That should be a lot of fun. And yeah, just kind of being there in that moment right before all of the insanity hits, and it's going to be forever changed in that sense.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to Galaxy's Edge. I'm not going to say I'm not.
No, of course.
The first glimpse we're going to get of it will be out there. Mm-hmm. And I plan on being there for whatever when it opens. But actually, the thing I'm most looking forward to with Disneyland actually just kind of manifested a few nights ago. Mary Jo Willie and Nancy Johnson were in town. And we had dinner with my mom, who adores them. And we get in. I go and pick Mom up, and we get in the car, and she's like, and Mom's 88. Mom does, and she's in great health, but she's 88. She she's slowed down. She doesn't move around as fast. So a lot of the trips we used to take, I really can't take with her anymore because it's too much on her. So, and that's by her choice, not by mine. So she gets in the car and she says, I miss all my friends out in California. I think I'd like to go out one more time.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, really? Now, I have a trip planned for early March. And I was just like, oh, I'm all in there. So we have now added a room for Mom out of the Grand Californian concierge, because we've got to treat Mom right.
I like that, yeah.
Well, she likes having the lounges. Like if we're going to stay on property, I stay at the boardwalk. She loves that lounge. It's easy for her to get in and out of.
Yeah.
And they dote on her, and it's a very comfortable environment. She'll sit there. She'll have her tea. She'll watch television. She'll have finger sandwiches, and because Mom's not doing rope drop. Yeah. Mom is up in time to do a rope drop, but Mom's not going to do a rope drop. So having that available for her is important, and I know she will absolutely lose her mind in the lounge.
Well, those concierge people that are over at Grand Californian are great too.
They're incredible.
They always remember you every time you come in.
They're incredible, and my mom just kind of elicits that response from people. She's like everybody's grandmother, and she just elicits that response from people. So the fact that she wants to go, I was excited. It'll be my first trip out to Disneyland this year. I was excited about that. The fact that she wants to go, it just sent me through the roof. I cannot wait. For March. I cannot wait to go out there.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, isn't that really why we love this?
It's different seeing it through someone else's eyes and who doesn't experience as much as you do. It's it's new and fresh.
But especially, people often ask me my best memory or my favorite memory from Walt Disney World, and I always go to the same thing. It was the first time I brought my parents there, and John and I were walking behind them, and they were walking in front of us, and it was the first time I saw walking into Epcot. It was the first time I saw my parents hold hands. I'm sure they had done it before, but I have, and I got to be careful because I'm going to get choked up. Every time I think about it, watching them walking towards Spaceship Earth, holding hands. And that just burned into my memory. That will always be there. And that is ultimately what what draws us to this place, is these memories we create with our friends, with our family, with our partners, our husbands, our wives. And the memories that keep getting created. We'll talk about how expensive it is. We'll talk about how crowded it is. We'll talk about all this stuff. But at the end of the day, we put up with it because of that. Mm-hmm. That's what drew us to be fans in the first place. That's what keeps us coming back. And that's why for some of us, I don't know that we will ever find a tipping point, because we can't put a price tag on that. And I think that's as good a place to end this as any. So that will do it for this episode of the Disneyland edition of the Diz Unplugged. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again next week. Have a great week, everyone.